So today, I would like to talk a little bit about a few things I hate about the E60 M5 BMW. Number one, as good as that 7-speed Smg transmission is when it's dialed in for fast shift settings, it's equally as pathetic and painful to operate when it's in its dumbed down, neutral, just turn the key on car mode. When you're just going for a quick ride down to the store to pick up some groceries, the transmission is so lurchy and jerky and slow that you feel like you're getting slingshotted through the front windshield one moment and launched into the back seat the next. So the transmission, great on one hand, rotten the next. So it really does have two aspects, and again, Jekyll and Hyde is both good and bad in this car. Another thing I really don't like too much about this car, given 5-liter V10 obviously has a lot of power. With power comes fuel consumption. Basically, it seems like you fill up a tank, you drive across town, and you've consumed half a tank of fuel. I don't know what the issue is. I think you're talking about a car that's typically heavy on fuel anyway, but that compounded with a really small fuel tank, and you've got an absolutely terrible fuel consumption, and you have almost no range. You might get 400 kilometers, maybe about 300 miles on a tank of fuel. If you're talking, highway, freeway type driving. If you're in the city, it's going to be even less than that. So fuel economy is absolutely horrendous in these cars. More than the fuel economy is just the range, because the tank is a little bit small. So another thing that I really don't care for a whole lot in these cars. Now, another thing I don't really care a whole lot about, to be honest, obviously with power comes excessive tire consumption in the rears. All I find is you go through one season of spirited driving, you're not even talking about bagging, just a good spirited drive. By the end of the season, the tires are almost worn out. The fronts typically hold okay, but it's the rears that, even on modern acceleration, with this type of power and torque, it doesn't seem to take too much to gobble up the rear tires and turn them into smoke. So the tire consumption and the fuel consumption are pretty excessive in this car. And to be honest, that's one of the things I really don't like all that much. So lastly, what I also don't like about these cars, these E60 M5s, is the fact that there's a lot of information on bulletin boards, on the web, and basically you can find a lot of information just by Googling. The reliability has been questioned since day one. You can find a lot of information on forums and webs that tell you about a lot of the details around these M5s. One thing I do know is the SMGs are a little bit fragile. Take all that kindly to abusive driving. So spirited driving is one thing, but if you were to take this and track this car, I think you'd probably wind up paying the price. So a lot of parts that engineered to the maximum, the hairy limits, I guess, if you will, of reliability. So, there are a lot of stories of oil consumption and, breakdowns, engine lights, a lot of things that seem to creep up. The more you find and do searches on the net, the more you'll find about these cars. So, it is something to be aware of. If you stretched to buy a car like this and you've spent every last dollar just to get it, think again possibly, because it never hurts to have a couple of dollars in the bank just for maintenance on these cars. It's reliability isn't necessarily its middle name. It's certainly not as bad as as some of the premium exotics in terms of maintenance intensiveness, but definitely is not the most reliable car on the road. So again, I'd like to thank you for joining in on this video. That's a few things that I thought I'd touch on. The goods, the bads, and the uglies on the E60 M5. I like the car so much, after the rave reviews, I ended up buying one for myself for a daily driver. I don't regret it at all. It's a great car. But again, please like, subscribe. I will be making a lot more videos into exotics, and that's what this channel is all about. So please subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see you on the next one. Right on. Thanks.